go. We're live. We are back here at AWS reInvent 2023 here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And as you can see, I am joined by a myriad of friends. You might be going, Kyle, do you really have that many friends? Well, my pocketbook is running pretty empty. But now I'm so excited to introduce my friend, my old mentor, my old boss, Robert Saul. He was responsible for me at one point, and then he's just like, uh-oh. Yeah, I'm kidding. And then I'm also joined by Lindsey Henry. Yeah. Lindsey, you just started a new role, which sounds phenomenal that you're going to be talking about a little bit. And then, of course, she doesn't need an introduction, but our one and only fabulous Cydney Stude, who's got sparkly boots on.
Way sparkly boots. We've got to find a way to show those boots.
We've got to get those on camera.
I'll think about it.
So what has been keeping you all busy at reInvent? Because I know you've been talking to customers about security and ransomware, and you've been doing a lot of executive briefings. You've been talking about just security operations. You've been just running around with your hair on fire too. What are the topics of conversation that you've been having?
So from the threat detection and incident response perspective, it's been about how do we help customers avoid needing us? Right. So my name is Robert Saul. I'm the Threat Detection and Incident Response Practice Manager. I look after the customer incident response team. And so we help customers when they have security events on the customer side of the shared responsibility model. We've got a lot of data pointing to a few common reasons why security incidents happen within customer environments. So it's really been communicating that. It's been what we see is it's the basics. It's what we like to call eat your vegetable security, right? So it's been communicating that, making sure that customers understand you got to pay attention to the details, right? It's in the details, and there's very little difference between workload operations and security. Right, so it's just trying to communicate super effectively, trying to make sure that they know that there's tools that to help them, and then of course there's us. We're here to help whenever they need. So that's been the biggest thing for me so far.
Awesome, and if you have, if you're watching, anywhere in the world, and you have a question for this esteemed panel of colleagues of mine, please feel free to drop your question in the chat. I'm looking at it right here, so please feel free to drop any questions about security, the shared responsibility model, what the customer incident response team does, what does Kyle even do up here? Who gave him a microphone?
We need to investigate that. I'm just going to really, Tabitha. I don't understand what's happening here. Yeah.
And Lindsey, what have you been? You started a new role, and you're developing new awesome stuff. What do you got going on there?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Kyle. So one thing, I also wonder, why did they give you a mic also? So
someone said I'll never get anywhere if I talked a lot, or don't stop talking and look at me now.
Yeah, so. You're doing pretty good, I guess. Yes, so a couple of things I've been doing is I've been process onboarding to this new role. I'm taking over operations for our customer incident response team. So every time a customer have a security event on their side of the shared responsibility model and they contact AWS, I'm leading the teams globally to be able to help customers be able to recover from those. So that's kind of where I've been. I'm trying to get my feet wet, make sure that we can scale to meet the customer demands and meet their needs. And then also here at reInvent, I've just been spending most of my time educating customers on, kind of what to do when you find yourself with a security incident. A lot of customers think they're alone and unafraid, and unafraid. So we let them know that they don't have to be by themselves. That there's a team that's here to help them, to kind of shepherd them.
A unique fact about the customer incident response team is it's available to all AWS customers.
Every customer.
Every AWS customer. You don't have to have enterprise support or developer support. If you are having an active security event, you can, submit a support ticket, and they'll get help from the customers.
Get to us.
It gets us.
Yeah, it'll get to these two right here, specifically these two.
You don't want me running a ticket, man. No. It'll get to the team of the finest incident responders for AWS you will ever find anywhere. We've got a global force of folks that wake up every day just looking forward to helping customers, and that's
We should call them Chief Chaos Engineers. Or Chief Panic Officers.
Oh, Panic Officers.
Chief Panic
Officers. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so while we're on the topic, Robert, can you talk to us about trends that you have seen, or is there anything you'd like the audience to know about what the customer incident response team deals with?
Yeah.
What would you want? How can we prevent it?
Two things: credentials, right? Like it's all about when we start looking at at the trends of all of our incidents, it points very strongly to credential control. How are customers thinking about credentials? Where are they? What do they use? What do they use them for? And many times what we find is customers, they start with very small AWS footprints, and then those footprints grow, right? And the credentials grow, and they lose track of where all those credentials are, what they're doing, and what have you. So it's just having a super strong inventory. And then there's a back to basics element of defense in depth, right? So there's, and the defense in depth portion is, AWS offers a lot of really strong controls to protect data. For example, SCPs for S3 buckets. When we look at IDPs and we look at different, at other access control mechanisms, you can still put in-depth defenses from that, right? So it's researching, and understanding what your data needs and how to protect it. But those are the two biggest things.
Got it. And about the eat your vegetable security, like you said, Lindsey,
Who
do you
likes
have
vegetables?
any thoughts on that? Like how?
Eat your vegetable.
Eat your chocolate security.
There we go.
That should be better.
I prefer it be vegetable.
But vegetables is
man.
indicating it needs to be boring
Like
and
painful.
arduous, though. And
But it
security, like the
doesn't.
fundamental security, should not be painful.
Yeah, but it's painful when you have to eat sweets and you got to go to the dentist or your.
I haven't been to the dentist in like a decade, so I don't know.
You're like the only human being on Earth with that point of view. All right, so
This
come
is
on.
true. This is true.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure 2 people are going to come up in chat and say that they agree with me.
Yeah, chat.
I'm
Tell
going to
us.
wait for it. Let's get a poll right now in the chat. Vegetables over chocolate.
All right.
Let's do it. Drop it in the chat.
We'll
All right,
see what they
so,
come
so,
up with.
So the eat your vegetables, eat your chocolate. I think of things like logging, right?
Yeah.
It's something that is super fundamental and super sometimes be rudimentary, but it's super important whenever you find yourself in a case, right? You
Yeah.
find yourself in an event, you need to be able to provide attribution. You need to be able to respond to your boards, or you need to respond to regulators as far as who, what, when, and how. And the only way you can get that is through logs, and it's not reputable, right? You want to make sure that you have good sound logging. It both, at the, for your data planes, and you need to make sure you have it for your actual objects. You need to make sure your applications that you're running have logging, and then be able to store those and have some type of process, have some type of strategy for how you're going to do long-term storage.
Yeah.
Versus short-term storage where you can go ahead and get them and retrieve it. So that's kind of one of my must-haves when it comes down to eating your vegetables, not eating your chocolates.
Can I pick up on that for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, but I also want to note that someone said chocolate on veggies.
The moderate in the room. I like it. Pick the middle. Go with the middle. That's strong. Well, but what he said about logging and her question about what are we seeing, kind of from a meta perspective, the biggest thing that we're seeing is a lack of strategy. Is a lack. My glasses are fogging. It's showing on camera here, so I'm gonna take them
That's
off.
because you're just so
Steaming. It's a hot topic.
It's all the hot air coming out of my mouth. That's the problem. So that is a lack of strategy, right? And what Lindsey was saying about logging, that takes planning, right?
It
Like
does.
you can't just turn on logs. You've got to think this through.
You can.
Well, I suppose you could.
You can.
Well, but one of the great questions I always liked, what I always ask when we're talking about logging and everything else, and I hear customers say, yeah, they got these logs enabled, but what do you do with them, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's there's a strategy
There's a
there,
strategy to
right?
it, yeah.
Like he said, where are they going? How long are you storing them? How long do you need to keep them on hand, like real time? How long do they go into deep freeze?
Yep.
So it's a strategy. Just thinking through it all and making sure that you're building in security and thinking about the incident response when you're developing the application, not afterwards.
Yeah, and you say defense in depth too, and we could also look at it as logging in depth as well, because you could have it from, let's just take a web application, because that's just easy to talk about right now, is you got a web application, you can have logs from the host that's hosting that web application, and then the web application logs itself. And then you have your VPC flow logs, and then you got your control plane logs, like what's happening with the AWS configuration of those services. And so you have full context, or you can achieve almost a full context of what is happening should an event stem from an external access to pivoting to the host, and then pivoting to like a credential being generated and then being utilized within the environment
move,
too. Yeah.
You know who I want to hear from?
Who?
That's this one.
The TDIR engineer in the room.
The engineer.
I want to hear what she's building.
Yeah.
What are
Because
you building?
I think it's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
I may have a little bit of insight? But I kind of want to hear from her.
I would love to hear from Sparkle Boots.
Sparkle Boots Cat is the new name. Done.
Hey, everybody's got to be known for something. And if I'm going to be known for cool shoes, I will take that. Like, that is fantastic.
A lot of people pay very good money to be known
Wait
for
a minute,
their
I
shoes.
got cool shoes. They're just not as cool as those.
I don't know,
Yeah.
Robert.
Yeah.
Your definition of cool is a little lukewarm.
It is. I'm old.
Shots
That's the problem.
fired.
Yeah. All right, what are you working on? I want to hear.
What am I working on? Oh, Robert, I got a couple projects in the works. Can
Yeah?
you direct me? Which one are you thinking?
How are you distributing information? That's what I want to hear about.
I think, okay, yeah. So I have strong thoughts on this topic.
Yeah.
So when we're thinking about security and we're thinking about normal activity in your AWS account, and then in the case of a security event, how do we learn from that?
Oh.
Like, how do we identify what happened and then be able to talk about it? Like, how do we map that to a standard framework, and how do we give that to the people inside your organization that can use it to make a difference?
Yeah.
Because if you have a security event, it's a learning. You can turn it into a learning experience.
Oh, it should be a learning
It
experience.
should be.
It has to be.
Yeah.
And how well we do that is key, because not only can you help prevent a future security event, if you don't learn anything, of course, that's not good. But you could use that information to really raise the bar on your environment as a whole, or in your organization. Like, if there was a certain control that wasn't enabled, or if there was a certain feature that could go to a different team in your organization
What better way to learn?
this. We have to have a way to pass that around. So a lot of my work lately has been figuring out how do we standardize what we learn from security events, and how do we give that to the stakeholders that matter for any organization?
You know what I would like to double down on in that moment is culture. Because
And strategy.
because you gotta have the right strategy. You gotta be able to have like clear, defined outcomes of that learning, and you gotta have a good culture that starts from like the leadership down, that says it's okay to learn from these events, right? Like, it's sometimes people don't deep dive into those cases, because it gets kind of muddy, because somebody might have made a mistake, somebody might have opened up some resources and had those public, right? And so people get very fearful, and that's when that doubt and that uncertainty begins to kick in. But if you set the right culture, then those learnings can go a long way in your process, right? As an organization, as a team, you can just learn so much from that when you're ready to receive it.
And when you look at the lessons learned part of the incident response life cycle, that's, it's really promoting a blameless culture.
Oh, absolutely.
To where like something may have gone wrong, but how can we figure that out? How can we solve that? And at AWS we use the 5 whys on why did this not get detected earlier? Why was it able to happen? Why did we not know it could happen? And there's a whole like blog post about it, and actually documentation in the well-architected framework. It's referenced everywhere, right? And actually an incident manager in System Manager, it'll go through like a postmortem of what we do, of how we go about an error or something that we're responding to and needs to be fixed and forever fixed, right?
So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
So we have an interesting question in chat. So talking about the lessons learned, they said, so are we thinking of the final result, and are we reverse engineering it back to step 1? Like, how does this panel think about that approach?
Can I start?
Yeah.
All right. Yes.
Done.
Easy day.
Done.
Right? Yes, and right. So yeah, you go back to step 1 and you reverse engineer, to the beginning. But in order to do that, people have to be empowered to do that, right? They have to be empowered to report the thing in the first place, right? So yes, absolutely. Our 5 whys, and I love that Kyle brought that up, because that's very personal to us as part of our mechanisms, and understanding why something happened, and you just keep on deep diving until you get to the answer. So just yes, that's what we're doing, but it starts with the culture. It starts with the strategy of understanding. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, I would say that as far as going back to the point is, you have to start at like what the actual problem is that happened. And when we talk about the 5 whys, I've actually seen the 5 whys go almost like 20 deep, because as they get done with that first 5, there's another issue that they've kind of unfolded, and then they wrap that around, and then they go through another 5 whys to figure out why that happened, and then they continue to drill down. So absolutely, go back to the root. Because if you just stay on the surface, then you're going to find yourself right back in the situation again, right? Like you have to dive super deep into it. Oh man, I just used the Amazon LP, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
You did.
You did.
Like 3 times.
I owe
like 3 times. It wasn't just once.
I owe the whole panel. Yeah,
milkshake.
we leave it at that.
Milkshakes.
Yeah,
But no,
More chocolate.
20 deep.
yeah, it's 20.
That's
yeah.
I mean, that also addresses that like systemic issues too, because we actually talked about well-architected framework tool and then the different lenses you could have yesterday. And in that well-architected framework tool, it can centralize all the risks and what risks are associated with which workload based on the survey that you fill out. And to me, that you could highlight systemic issues. If you have multiple workloads failing a certain control within like the security pillar, for example, it's okay, why is this control failing across all of our workloads? I think that goes with very similar to like if we look at the different security controls we could have with our workloads, like the directive, preventative, detective, and responsive controls. Okay, why did those 4 fail? And if we're just scratching the surface, we might not be addressing potentially a systemic issue, because we might have something deploying in an automated fashion, something that's not adhering to a best practice.
Absolutely.
But we're just addressing the after deployment and fixing that,
And
instead
fixing
of
that
like
part, yeah.
the actual thing that's launching it and saying, hey, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
like, someone's like, oh, I'll fix that,
Yeah.
We've got another good question in chat. I know we're coming up on time. Y'all want to hear it?
Give it to us.
Let's go.
All right. So from the customer perspective, what are the top 2 or some top 2 most critical tools in responding to an incident in the cloud?
IAM Access Analyzer. Sorry, I kind of blurted that out.
Again, but
I should have given.
again, but slower.
All right, sorry. All right. So of course, cloud trial logging.
Yeah.
So I started with saying the number one reason that we see for security incidents to happen is lack of control of credentials. An AWS organic tool, IAM Access Analyzer, is one of the things that we use on almost every investigation to see what's happening with credentials. So, sorry, Ops Boss, I kind of stepped on you. You got any other thoughts? I just jumped on it.
I would like for our audience to know that I just retracted all of my everything that I said I was going to pay. The panel just went back and it's now on him. Okay? Robert Saul owns the milkshakes.
No, seriously. Do you have anything else?
I don't. I think you hit it on the money. I think if you say 2, you limited me to 2. IAM Access Analyzer is definitely one in that one. I think you can kind of debate on guard duty or CloudTrail, but you need CloudTrail. You need logs. Yeah. You just got to have logging enabled, right? Everything else is kind of like sprinkles on top of the vegetables. Yeah. But
chocolate sprinkles on the vegetables.
I like the way you pulled that back.
Sprinkles on top of the vegetables?
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. You brought us right back to
I do.
Yeah, that thing that you hated so much.
I keep blocking Robert. I'm just such a large
Yeah. I'm going to go out of picture frame here so I can see Lindsey. Hey, Lindsey, can you... Yeah.
I don't know them.
All right. So for those that are here at reInvent this year, what can they expect, or what would you say if they want to talk to the Robert Saul or the Lindsey Henrys or the Cydney Sparkle Boots of the world? What can they do? What can they see? What can they experience during reInvent this year?
Like, what are they going to see here? How do they talk to us? What are you asking?
Let's go with a little bit. How can they talk to you?
Yeah, let's talk about the booth.
Well, the booth. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought he said boots.
I was going to go to the booth place, but I was like, Kyle's leading me in a way. He went, oh, the booth. The booth. Yeah. So there's in the AWS Village, for anyone that's here, we'd love to see you. We've got actually 2 booths. There's Security Identity and Compliance booth up there, and then we've also got the Security Assurance Services booth. between myself and Lindsey and Cydney Sparkle Boots here, are you going to be at the booth at all?
I'm at the Security, Identity, and Compliance booth.
Nice. Yeah, so that's where you find us.
Yes,
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, we're right up on time.
All right, well, folks, stay tuned for more awesome stuff coming at reInvent 2023 live in Las Vegas, Nevada. Viva! That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, come on. Come on, man. You got to do this. You got to